Welcome to Chop Shop Motors. My name is Clay, and we want to continue the work on the 64 Falcon two-door hardtop motor. So we've had a couple weeks off. I'll give you a little update as to kind of where we left off, just to connect the dots for you, and what transpired. So I got to the point of putting the camshaft in the 289, and the camshaft that I had, even though it had been a new camshaft, it had gotten some moisture on it and in the box, and it just was a little marginal for me to use in a brand fresh motor. So I jumped on, after the video ended, I jumped on the CompCam's website and ordered a new camshaft and a new set of valve springs, and didn't hear back from them. So about 10 days later, no email, no response. The money came out of the account right away, but no response from them as a business. So I called them, and they said, oh yeah, we don't have those camshafts. We're out of stock on that, and you know, so we don't have them. I said, well, were you going to tell me? And they're like, well, you know, we don't want to put it on the website that we don't have any inventory. So apparently they don't have anything. They're out of everything. They're backlog. They're back ordered on all their camshafts, on springs, on everything. So I don't even know how they're functioning as a business. So that was a little depressing, seeing how I was on a roll on this motor. And so I thought, well, what the heck am I going to do? I got to find a camshaft, and CompCams has kind of been a go-to. I knew what I wanted from them, couldn't get it. So I did the oldest thing in the world that we have all gotten out of practice with. I called the local speed shop, which is Lopers here in Phoenix or Scottsdale. I called Lopers, and Lopers has been around for eons, and I asked them if they had any inventory of CompCams, and they did, and lo and behold, they had exactly the cam I was looking for, in stock with the springs. Super nice guy helped me, and it was, I drove down there that afternoon and picked up camshaft, picked up the lifters, and I'm back in business. So, you know, we get so used to doing everything over the internet, especially considering the kind of where we are in, you know, this pandemic, and just trying to stay away from, you know, risk, and we forget to support our local businesses. So a little bitty plug for local businesses. Support them, call them. They're in business because people come to them, and it was like, I'm gonna hardwire that in, and I'm gonna try to use them a little more often than going over on the internet to get stuff. Plus, I was able to get it right there, look at it, touch it, and so all good stuff. So how about I show you what I bought? So here's the task for today. We've got a new camshaft, CompCams, pretty cool piece. It's a hydraulic. It's called a 224. Basically, I don't know if you can see that. Maybe you can, probably can. Basically, it's a 224 intake and exhaust duration with a valve lift of 0.5. So should be a pretty cool cam for this little motor. There's a new set of valve springs to go with it. We'll pop those on, and be set to go. Other things that got prepped kind of while I was a little bit of the downtime, I rounded up the timing cover I wanted to use. Again, these timing covers are a little different than the later ones because the water pump uses the timing cover as the back of the plenum, I guess, and so it's an integral part of the water pump, this piece, instead of having a steel plate and that encases the impeller. So these are a little different, use a little different water pump, and this timing cover is a little bit different all the way around for the early motor. So it's not a big deal. It's just when you're mixing and matching some of this stuff that's in the 64, 65 area, you want to pay attention to which pieces you're mixing. Yeah, they all interchange as somewhat as sub-assemblies. Like, I'm using a 64 timing cover, you got to use a 64 water pump, you got to use a 64 timing chain and eccentric. So that's kind of the gist there. This cover, there's a couple different Ford covers. One has an integral timing mark, one has a screw-on one. For some reason, probably because this bolt is somewhat hidden by the marker, the timing mark, every time you get one of these covers, the mark's gone, the timing mark piece is gone. So I ordered up a new one because this was the nicest cover that I had, and so that's squared away. I also put the ring gear on the flywheel. I probably should have videotaped it, because I'm not sure how many people know how to actually heat up a ring gear and put it on, but it was about 250 degrees that day here in Arizona, and I was messing with the torch. So my enthusiasm for adding yet another task and filming it was low. So that part's done. Also, as a note, in the last video I took a picture of the thermometer and said it's already 100 in here, and the thermometer was at 110. So obviously I was delirious at that moment around how hot it was in the shop. So that is kind of where we're at right at the moment. Let me uncover the motor, do a little bit of work, and bring you back. Okay, so this is certainly not meant to be a tutorial on how to build a motor. Tons of people out there on YouTube doing that kind of stuff. That's not really at all what my gig is. I'm just showing you the progress on a project I have. What I do, what may be helpful to some of you folks that are messing with this stuff that's in these transition years. I mean, it's basically antique crap now. So there isn't much of it out there that people are messing with. So the one or two people out there that even have a 60s Ford that are looking at this, I'll show you what I'm paying attention to. So on these early motors, the cam gear is flat. So you have to make sure that as you put the cam gear on, you put this funny little spacer, this afterthought washer on the cam before you put the gear in. And the reason that is what will happen is if you put the gear on and you bolt it all together, it'll lock up the motor. And I've seen it happen multiple times. So it definitely is a risk. Well, I guess it's not a risk. It's just something to be cautious of. So we'll put the pin in. Kind of cool. Comp Cams gives you new pins for the camshaft, which I think you can see. There's a long and a short. I'll show you that. A long and a short. Short one is for a later 302 style motor that has a different eccentric for the fuel pump. So we'll put the long one in because of the type of eccentric we're using. So that slides in. The infamous hardened washer that I told you about slides on. And then you have a couple gears. So 260, 221, 289 early, use a little bit wider gear, a little bit different configuration. Who knows what the reason was? I'm sure there was some really cool engineering reason for it to change. So we'll check the timing mark. Okay, got a couple numbers on it, so we want to make sure we're absolutely paying attention. This isn't a time when you want to grab a date code and think it's a timing mark. So we got a timing mark right there. Perfect. We'll put the one on the crank. Okay. We'll bring this around to top dead center, which on a Ford aligns with the key on the crankshaft. Okay, so gears on, that align, put the chain on, and I'm using NOS chain, honestly, because I didn't want an import timing chain, so I did everything I could to get as many parts as I could that were domestic. Not always possible. Sometimes you're just happy to get them. And you kind of pull everything together and suck it together there. This is the one piece eccentric. You pay attention because the dowel that you put in actually goes into the eccentric on this one. So we'll pay attention to how that goes together. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do now. Is at this point, I look at all of this stuff. I make sure my timing marks are right on, right on. I check to make sure that stud and that fuel pump eccentric are good. I'm also checking to make sure that pin is inside the eccentric just a little bit. I want to make sure that that pin isn't holding that eccentric out in an angle and causing some bind that's going to cause us a problem later, which would happen if that pin is too long. Is there a chance that pin's too long? Probably 1 in 10,000. So I don't want my little motor to be the 1 in 10,000. So I checked. All right, so those things are on. I'm going to check, make sure that's good and tight. Tick, tick. All right. On this motor, it still uses a slinger. So the slinger goes on, and now I can put the front cover and stuff on. That was just a little piece I want to do a little deeper dive on. I'll shut it off. I'll put some more pieces together, and then I'll bring you back. So let's check in on the progress. Front cover is on. All buttoned up there, water pump's on, rounded up all the right bolts to make it work. Oil pump's on, check to make sure the drive shaft for the oil pump had the retainer and was the right length and all that. All those things kind of play into it. Clean the rails, getting ready to put the pan on. One of the last details is I will set the pan on dry and just make sure it doesn't hit the pickup. So let me set you up here. So I always set the pan on these Fords one time without the gasket in it. and I just feel to make sure it's bottomed out on the rail. I want to confirm that the oil pump pickup isn't smashed against the bottom of the pan. Sometimes the pans, this pan's really nice. Sometimes the pans are a little distorted. Sometimes, you know, other things happen, aftermarket pickups, things of that nature could cause a problem. But the pan fits nice. I can tell there's a little bit of room in there. So we're good. I'm gonna pull it off and put the pan on. I did something a little different. I pre-painted everything just so that when I came back after it was all done, it would be a little easier to catch the bolts and give everything a single coat, and I would still have it be blue back behind everything. So that was kind of the thought there. Put an oil filter on, put a plug in the oil pressure where the oil pressure pickup would go, just to start sealing things up and reduce the risk of having something go wrong. So let me button up the pan. Made a little more progress. Got the pan on, so front cover's on, pan's on. Everything's buttoned up on the bottom. Got the cam plug in. I think everything's looking pretty good. Next thing I'll do is work on changing the valve springs and get the heads done and get those bolted on. And then we'll get the intake on, give it another splash of blue, and the motor will be substantially closer. Alright, that's it for this little piece. To wrap this video up, I'll show you more or less the finished product. This is the 289 assembled. I put the springs on the heads, bolted the heads on, set the lash. I had multiple pieces painted except for the block, so I got everything assembled and then gave it a single over, you know, kind of overall splash, just to make it all exactly the same color and kind of catch all the bolts and gaskets and stuff. I actually don't like it when they're all sticking out and uncovered, so everybody does it their own way. So this is how it looks. It's a little pea shooter of a motor when you really look at it. Really, they are not very big. So at this point, valve lash is set, harmonic balancer's on, timing mark's on, water pump's on. I shouldn't, unless I have some issue, shouldn't have to pull the valve covers back off. Fingers crossed, right? I put a set of vintage, made in California, Cal Custom valve covers that I got offline that were like just unbelievably grody. I took and got them all cleaned up, and I think they're going to fill the bill nicely. They really do fit the car, kind of the right time frame for when the car would have been put together. It's got a cast iron intake manifold, a Ford 65 Ford 4-barrel cast iron manifold. I put it has currently sitting on it is a 4100 shoebox. It's probably not the carburetor that I'll put on it in the long run. I have another 4100 I'm going to build. They're good little carburetors. I really do like them. It's just hard to get good cores anymore, and some of the core prices are kind of through the roof, so I'm not going to spend $400 on a core carburetor. It's not a numbers matching car, and so for me it isn't necessary, but I have another 1 or 2 cores that I'll try building, and we'll see if one of them will work. If not, then we'll put something else on, put a little Holley on or something, and we're not going to get too wound around the axle around that piece. On top is a cool oval air cleaner. Basically found the air cleaner at a junkyard, which, not a car junkyard, but like a scrap yard, and it was off to the side, and so I got the air cleaner, the the top basically really cheap, and then I found the company that makes those aftermarket and bought the base, which was a little more expensive. But overall, it made the package pretty affordable, so that's kind of cool. It's got a set of vintage breathers on it. I like the gray breathers. They look cool. Everything I have seems to have those. But that's really the motor. Next step is I will pull it off the engine stand and get it onto a cart and get the flywheel and the 4-speed bolt to do it, and get everything kind of assembled, work through what I don't have and get that sourced, get the exhaust on it, give it some oil pressure, and then drop the distributor. I've got a vintage dual point, Ford dual point, that I built out of a bunch of distributors that had been broken. I know, the story of my life. It was a Autolite Autolite dual point, but the distributor housing had been bent, had been like, something banged it, and as soon as you try to straighten it, the housing breaks. So I pulled all the guts out of it and put it into a stock 289 distributor housing, and so we're going to try it, see if it works. In theory, it should work and be kind of cool. Well, is it worth the headache? We'll see. I've got a couple other distributors I can put in it. But bottom line, it's just kind of for fun and using some of that cool stuff I've acquired, or maybe stuff that is kind of neat that would make for a cool project when it's all together. Is any of it ultra rare? Probably not. Is it really ultra desirable? Probably not. None of my stuff's on the ultra desirable list. It's all fun and people like me like it, so that's kind of cool. So to wrap this up, next step is we'll see it with a transmission hanging on the back of it. And I'm Clay for Chop Shop Motors. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next project.